Hi, this is Jim Ziegler, and this is the Dawg Pound. And guess what? F&I is dead. F&I is going to be handled by salespeople. F&I is no longer going to be the profit center of the dealership. F&I is under attack. Federal agencies are looking at the F&I office with a microscope. And most F&I managers were never trained to do the job. Today, we're going to talk about that subject and more, and I hope the audience comes in on the same subject. We've got the Duchess of Productivity, Miss April Simmons herself. Hi, kid.
Hey. So if you make me laugh too hard, I'm going to still be coughing and just getting over the flu. So appreciate you guys rocking and rolling last week without me, but excited to be here today.
You got a little spit cup there. You go. Oh, golly. Okay. Get a napkin to wipe it with. All right. She's been sick. Okay. And the empress of executive management herself, one of the most brilliant women in the car business, Miss Jennifer Briggs. Hi, kid.
Hey, Jim and April. I'm so glad you're feeling better. You did miss a heated show, but we are glad you were resting instead of participating in the ruckus.
Oh, we intend to have a heated show this week.
I feel the heat. I feel the heat.
Oh, the heat's coming.
Loved it.
And the queen of BDC, Business Development Center herself. I'm talking about the intergalactic queen of BDC, Miss Bobbie Herron herself.
I would like that to be my intro from now on, the intergalactic queen. I like that. That's new. I'm going to go ahead and utilize that.
Long ago and far away.
She doesn't even get that reference, Jim.
I get it because I know it. It's that whole Star Warsy or whatever thing. Yeah.
Yeah, one of my son's friends said, "I'm a vegan," and I said, "You're a vegan? Hey, look, I'm a Star Trek fan."
The one thing about a vegan is you'll never be surprised because they will tell you.
And the gremlin himself. I'm talking about the curmudgeon, the contrarian, the mad Russian. I'm talking about the king of reinsurance, the dealer loans and dental programs, Max Zanan.
I mean, it's good to be here. I missed the last two shows due to travel. You know, so
you're all showing up when we're traveling, Matt.
Good.
Max, we'll start with you. Is F&I dead?
No, of course it's not dead. You know, F&I is the most profitable department in a car dealership, and you're right. You know, some government agencies want to get involved. You know, and we had this show with Jim Ganther when he talked about cars rule. And, you know, I don't want to brag. Right. I don't want to brag, you know, but if you remember, Jim mentioned that he's going to file an amicus brief together with the NADA and the Texas Dealer Association. And my agency actually joined the amicus brief. I am listed in this amicus brief. And there's only one other agent that is part of that amicus brief. So I put my money where my mouth is, right? I make a living through F&I, and I joined the amicus brief because I want to make sure that F&I remains, you know, an ultimate profit center, and whatever FTC is trying to do is just completely unreasonable and unrealistic. And here we are, you know.
Well, what about the salespeople handling the F&I?
Listen, Jim, it's a joke, right? Because salespeople can barely sell a car, and I know there are some proponents of cradle to grave, A to Z sales process, but I witnessed it in New Jersey, where a large auto group does not have an F&I department, and salespeople handle the entire process. So if you come in and you have a 680 credit score, they don't know what to do with you. In their mind, you are like super subprime, and you need to know how to read a bureau. You need to understand programs with your lenders. You need to understand how to structure a deal to maximize profitability. And salespeople cannot do that at the same time while they're selling the car. Plus, as I'm selling you the car, which is hard enough, right? Then I'm just going to put a different hat on and say, oh, by the way, Jim, let's talk about a vehicle service contract and a gap insurance and tire and wheel protection, right? You need the change of environment. You need a change of face to get this done. There's no reason to reinvent the wheel, If you make somebody's income dependent on one thing and one thing only, they will excel at that thing, right? So if you get paid for selling cars, you will sell cars because there's no other way for you to make money. And if you will get paid for selling F&I products, you will do that also. And I'll tell you more. If you get paid for selling accessories, right, you will really get good, at selling accessories. But if you just say, hey, April, go run with it, sell the car, sell the accessories, sell F&I, April's going to be like, listen, it's okay. I'm just going to sell the car and the other thing will wait.
Well, Max, and I'm gonna go to the rest of the panel here in a minute. I teach the credit interview. And I always brag about I set records in F&I, which are well documented, well recognized. But it wasn't that I was so good at selling F&I. It was so good. I was so good at getting deals bought. I could get deals bought and I could get less conditions on the deals because I worked the banks. I worked the lenders. It wasn't that I was better than everybody else in the box. I mean, I could sell. I was good. But what I was really what I excelled at was getting the hard to get put together.
Mm-hmm.
So
that makes sense,
Jim,
April?
hanging paper is a lost art, right? Majority of finance managers focus on how to sell products. There's some, word tracks.
If Dealer Track or Route 1 turns it down, they don't call the credit supervisor. They don't even. They don't have an intelligent thing to say.
Exactly.
People don't know how to read a credit report. Like we've stopped teaching people how to actually read past a score. Like that's where the falling down happens. Is we forgot that there's a way in which we are to read a credit report. Like, how many lines do they have? Did they just have, oh, I can see there was a lapse at just from this period to this period in their life. Let me ask them what happened. Oh, they were battling cancer at this particular time. It's not something that's going to happen again, but everything before was great. Everything after was great. That's a story that I can put together. There are so many finance managers out there today that don't even understand that loan to value actually can have a major impact on getting the deal done, and then what the interest rate is. Like, it's crazy to me. They literally look at it and say, credit score equals interest rate equals whether the deal gets bought and at what terms, and that's it. They don't know how to actually read a bureau. It's crazy.
No, it's the first thing I ask every finance manager that I train or work with. Is the first thing I put across is, if a customer walked into your store right now and they had a 680 on Trans but a 630 on Experian, but in your market they're looking at Equifax, which bank do you have that will look at the one that you pulled, give you 122% LTV, and give you the warranty and the gap, whatever you're trying to do to get this done and allow the story? They have a old child support that was due, but it's been paid and it's 7 years old. If you can't answer that question, you're going to fail, because it won't matter if you can sell that person a warranty if you can't get that paper hung.
Correct.
It's a huge deal. Huge deal.
It's amazing. when I was an F&I director, I could call the credit bureau, Equifax, and they will send a lady out to the dealership. She even brought donuts and stuff and teach you a whole course on how to read the credit bureau.
They still will if you request it. That's the crazy part. They still will. You can still do an Equifax boost with like a 30-day. It's almost immediate on some things, but for the actual score increase, it's 30 days. But I can't tell you how many dealerships I walk into where finance doesn't have a bank book. I had this conversation with a finance manager like a couple of weeks ago, and they were like, I don't need the bank book. You don't? Because you couldn't answer that question. Yes, you do need the bank book. You need to be able to flip through it. I think that finance gets less training than anybody in the dealership and less help than anybody in the dealership does. I don't care what anybody says. That is insane to me.
And I blame part of that on the partners, to be perfectly honest with you, because as I've been in stores across the country, I have seen, and not that, there are finance products, right? And they are training on how to sell the products, but they have convinced the dealer principal that they are fully training their finance managers, and they are not.
Right.
They are not. And the dealer is putting themselves at risk, and they're leaving a lot of money on the table because they're trusting that partner, but the partner is protecting their profitability, right? They're training on how to sell their products and nothing else. So,
but Jennifer, you say train the F&I managers. Even F&I managers that are trained need to be retrained, updated, and
I'm saying it's not actual complete training is what I'm saying. It's only training on one part. And I think that's why we see so many finance managers focusing on product only, because that person that came in or they went out off site to do the training only trained them on how to sell product. They didn't train them on how you actually work the bank, how you structure the deal, how you do those things. And that's even more important. Like Bobbie said, it doesn't matter how great you are at selling a warranty, because if you can't get the deal hung, what are you going to do? But here we are checking a box. We're training people, but we're not.
The art of the rehash is beautiful. The best finance managers I know, and I know a lot of really great finance managers who do great on product, who have high PVR, but they know how to rehash a deal. The art of the connection. They remember that if a deal didn't get bought in the beginning of the month, there's a paper trail that at the end of the month, when somebody's hitting a quota, you can have a rehash conversation, even if you didn't think you could. Or the shotgunning of credit drives me insane, because that's a direct indicator to me that you don't actually know the bank's programs. Or somebody will look at something and go, oh, Santander already looked at this. Oh, Cap One already looked at this. Oh, PNC already looked at this. Like, you don't know how they structured the deal. Why are you trusting some finance manager at another dealership to submit for you? That's insane to me. Make any sense? Max,
how to either keep a car on the road or to go ahead and put them in the right collateral, right? Because collateral does matter. It's loan to value, but it's also certain vehicles the bank is more comfortable with. So the age-old understanding your cash and your customer and your collateral and all your C's, like I don't even hear people have those conversations. Like which is bananas to me, because in today's world, to your point, Bobbie, if we can't like get the car over the curb, but then keep it over the curb, we got a problem. And with affordability being front and center, we've got to find ways to get more people behind wheels of cars today more than ever. And the way to do that is to understand structure that puts less risk on the bank. If I can minimize the bank's risk, then they will say yes. That's all I have to do. That's what negotiating is. It's just making sure that I painted a picture to minimize the risk to the bank of them losing money, period. That's it.
Yeah.
Now,
it's crazy to me.
Jennifer, you've been through my F&I course.
I have.
And how many people are teaching dealers how to get deals approved and to work the banks with a structure?
None. And I've been in so many F&I trainings all across the country, F&I trainings, right? And your training seminar was really the only one that's covered all of the bases. There is a lot of support around products and cradle to grave. We talked about that a little bit. Even in the most successful stores that I've worked with that are one point of contact, I will tell you, there are people behind the scenes that the customer never sees that are structuring the deals, helping them the right way in our single 1-point Lexus stores, right? One person, one touch, whatever. There is a team of people who are better trained than the sales professionals helping them. Each one had a team lead, which was sales manager, finance manager, whatever, before the restructure. And they're making sure to protect the bank's interest and the dealer's interest. It looks like the salesperson is doing everything. I actually, everybody get ready. I actually agree with Max that it is damn near impossible for a salesperson to actually support and do that 100% on their own.
You agree with Max?
I know. It's shocking.
Yeah, and listen, to Jen's point, there is a lot of training when it comes to product sales.
Mm-hmm.
And rightfully so, because product providers want their products sold. So of course they're going to focus their training on product sales. I think hanging paper comes from establishing a healthy relationship with your bank rep.
Yes.
And that bank rep needs to sit down with you and explain to you what is it that they're looking for? What's the sweet spot for this particular lender? Is it the LTV? Is it the downstroke? Right? Is it a certain credit score?
Max, if you're in the same town with a lender, if it's General Motors or Ford, I know they have a branch in your town. Why don't you go to lunch with these people? Why don't you see them face to face? And I'm going to tell you, when I was an F&I manager, and as a consultant since then, the paper buyer is really good at getting your deals approved. But you know who gets your deals approved? The credit analyst. Mm-hmm. Now that's a female intensive position. I've never seen a male credit analyst.
Detail oriented position.
I don't know. My favorite bank rep ever was the credit analyst from Wells Fargo. I'm pretty sure I got that boy fired, but it worked out beautifully for a couple of years.
So anyway, on Halloween, I would send like 15 pounds of candy to the credit analysts. I mean, I would send them stuff on Valentine's Day. And I could call the credit analyst and say, is there anything I need to do to get this deal approved? And, people don't even know the credit analysts.
No, they don't. They wouldn't even know where to call. If it's not on their dealer tracker Route 1 screen, they don't know what to do.
Mm-hmm. Is that true? Is that true, Max?
It is true. And as a finance manager, right, your job is to build these type of relationships, right? Mm-hmm. You have to take the initiative. Don't wait for the bank rep to show up. Call them, set a meeting in person, go to the buy-in center. I used to work with a Honda dealer in New York, and Honda's buy-in center, I think, is in Massachusetts. And the dealer would get in his car and drive 4 hours to go to Massachusetts a couple of times a year to meet everybody, shake everybody's hand, take them to lunch, and when he picked up the phone and said, hey, I'm calling from XYZ Honda and I need help with a deal, he would get help.
Honest to goodness, when I was with Potamkin and I was the F&I director, and I would take a deal and go drive physically to the GMAC office, come bursting in the office, Brake Bill's office right now. I want to talk about this deal. And I'd have a deal, and I'd go to Brake Bill, the general manager, and I'd have the paper buyer, Brake Bill's office right now. And I come through the door just billowing with a deal. I would call the paper buyer and the credit supervisor, and I would say, listen, let's go to lunch at Pilgrim's Steakhouse today, and bring your credit card. Never buy a banker lunch. They buy you lunch. Very important psychology. Meet me at Pilgrim's Steakhouse, bring your credit card. And I would always have a handful of deals. I'd have a handful of deals, and we'd eat dinner, and we would go through the deals. I don't see that relationship today, Max, to answer your question.
My question is why? Why is nobody doing these things anymore? I mean, all of it, everything that we've all discussed already, in the first 20 minutes of the show. Why are they not doing it? Why are finance managers not learning? Why are they not calling analysts? Why are people, why did this art go out the window and why are we not doing it?
And we can't blame this one on COVID because it's been going on a long time.
Path of least resistance, guys. You sit the guy, in front of a computer and the finance manager shotguns the deals, right? And then hoping to get a green check mark, right?
And not only that, Max, but the sales manager. I don't want some redneck chewing on an unlit cigar to be talking to the paper buyer or the,
Yeah, like here's a pro tip. If you're gonna shotgun it in a way that you can get it approved so that you can get past the decline system that you can't get past when you call the rehash. Put 20 grand down on it if you need to, so that when you call, you can have the conversation about the 2 grand down. Because if you put the 2 grand down and it gets declined, some of the banks aren't gonna let you rehash it. It's just simple. It's just
if I got 5 grand down, I'm going to show 1,000 on the application.
Yeah, you're exactly right. But you know what I really think it is, like to April's point is, and I know a lot of great finance managers. I only know one other person that I'm aware of that goes in and trains on how to read credit bureaus. I have seen some excellent finance managers. It was my favorite position I've ever held, so it's near to my heart. But it's the same problem that's wrong with inside of sales or sales management. When we used to teach that sliding the paper across the table at the close and shutting your mouth was a control tactic. It was psychology, and we used to teach the why behind it. Now we hire people and we just say, do that and use my word track, but we don't teach the why behind it. And the same thing happens in finance. And unfortunately for finance, there's not often anybody else with the same skill level or the same kind of training in the dealership to actually train them to do that. Where like in sales, we've got some of that, but in finance, we really don't. And then you do have sales managers, redneck or not, whatever, who some have a finance background and are actually skilled enough to send in a deal. But I'm telling you what, if I'm training finance or I'm working in the finance department, you're never letting somebody other than me submit a deal unless I'm not there, because nobody else is deciding my structure and that they're keeping 2 grand on the front and I'm not getting my back end. Like that doesn't flow.
Right, but also, guys, like when I was in retail, right, as a general manager, right, the way I ran the dealership, I ran credit on every single customer.
Yeah, because you're not the bank. You're not supposed to make the decision for you.
And then I would whip out my red highlighter and I would circle every delinquency, every past due, everything. And then I will explain to my salesperson what to say. So what ends up happening is that I trained every salesperson to read the bureau and explain the delinquencies to the customer. So it's not just the F&I. You can actually have your entire sales department on the same page. And then when the customer says, oh, I only want to pay $500 a month for this navigator, right? You take that customer and you show them a Toyota Corolla, and it's going to be $750 a month, based on the fact that you didn't pay your Verizon bill. It becomes a sales school. You have
everybody pays the Verizon bill.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, you don't have an understanding anymore of how credit works, though. Like, it's shocking to me that I can say to a finance manager, somebody will say, oh, but they're a 620. In their mind, they're a 620 and that's one number. Not they're a 620 in this bracket because they have a mortgage and they have this, or they have this and they have this. A 620 is not a 620 equally across the board. And I'm not saying that's something bad, but we've gotten away from teaching the salespeople that, and we've gotten away from teaching the customer that too. So instead of having that real conversation and coming out and having a talk with them and explaining these things, we say things like, we'll go sit in the waiting room for 4 hours while I try to figure it out. And then we wonder why somebody comes to our dealership and doesn't want to stay.
There are circumstances where I can improve a credit score by 50, 60, 70 points overnight. And there are certain circumstances, and I train managers how to recognize those circumstances where you can change a customer's credit bureau overnight. Like, dangling balances is a big one. Balances that are in their credit bureau that are already paid off. You can get those out within 24 hours and raise their credit score at the speed of electricity.
But you'd have to actually know how to pick up the phone to do that, right, Jim?
Yeah, no. Yeah. You know, dangling balances. Loan companies are famous for it. College loans are famous for it. College
But
loans
like,
are
I still
balances.
like Max. I get the whole idea of path of least resistance, but at the same token, when did we stop wanting more money and more car deals? Like to me, I just feel like we're saying, oh, okay, I only got red check marks. Sorry, we can't sell a car now. Have a nice day, and just kicking people out when this art form would allow for us to sell more cars and keep more cars on the road. And why in the world are we so complacent that we're now just okay with red check marks and saying, yeah, sorry, we tried to help
The
you.
credit counseling interview.
I'll tell you why, April. I'll tell you why. Because we live in the computer age, right?
Yeah.
So let's say you're checking into the hotel, right? And the receptionist says, April, I don't have your reservation, right? Because that's what the computer tells them, right? And you might have the reservation, but it's a pointless discussion at that, right? At that point, there's nothing to talk about. She's like, I cannot help you. You're not in the system, right? So
I
it's
want
the
to
same
answer.
thing.
I want to answer the question on the screen or the statement on the screen. Yes, that did work 40 years ago, but the last time I was in a dealership working the desk was 2019, and it still works 40 years ago or 2019 or 2024. These techniques still work. They just have lost the art.
Correct.
Well, and their point that technology's removed face-to-face is crazy because we still sell face-to-face with our customers. It's not that technology has removed it. That phone call should be part of it. The bank book, whether you have it digitally or in a big binder like it was in the first time I saw a bank book, you should still have it. They should still be trained on the program so that they know what they're doing outside of just selling product. I call BS, and I'm sorry, LinkedIn user, we can't see who you are, but technology has not removed our face-to-face.
I can
Can I defend this user? Can I defend this user for a minute? You guys aren't going to like this, but what you're missing is I put a question out there and said, as digital platforms and AI begin to automate much of the F&I process, is there still a need for traditional F&I department? Are we witnessing the rise of a fully automated financing experience? Put that out there as like a teaser to see what somebody would say. It happened to be that right at the same time you guys were talking about that posted and that user responded. I don't know who it is, but I think we're reading that wrong, and that the person is saying like, there are keyboard warriors. Technology has changed things. Not everything is the same way it used to be, but for that user, you can teach old dogs new tricks. Everything is pretty similar to how it used to be. It just looks and feels different, and we communicate it differently. Where you have the technology in the keyboard warrior situation coming in, you're right, it will absolutely change some of the things. What it doesn't change is the need for a relationship with your bank, your reps, and your analysts, the ability to read credit, the ability to teach things like that, and the ability to rehash a deal, as well as your product knowledge. Those core basics are not different.
Products we have today. We have windshield replacement. There are our F&I managers selling windshield replacement because windshields are now high tech. They turn on your windshield wipers. They have cameras hidden in them. I mean, look at all the things a windshield can do today, and it's very expensive technology to replace and calibrate a windshield. So that when I was selling F&I, we didn't have windshield replacement.
No, it's you prevent 100% of the products to 100% of the time. 100% of the products to 100% of the people 100% of the time, because you're not the bank and you're not the customer, and you don't have a right to make a decision for either one. It's really simple.
100% of the products 100% of the time, because people have certain, like me, it was old men with hats. I couldn't sell anything to an old man with a hat. If he had a hat, I couldn't sell that old bastard. You know, it just wouldn't happen. You know,
I can.
Yeah, but there's certain things that different people. I'm being facetious, but there's certain things that people are reluctant to do. Like a 20-year-old kid might be a little reticent to sell an 890 credit score with a obviously a mature, older guy. Hey, Trent Cannon's on the sideboard.
a keyboard warrior.
Yeah. I mean, listen, guys, you can be keyboard warriors, right? But everybody says that car business is changing at the speed of light, but at the same time, it remains the same, right?
Listen to this crap. There's
It's
Trent Cannon on. He's a communist. I know Trent. You know, look at
right.
this.
And
The fully automated F&I experience is 36 months out.
yeah, that's
You
a
know, people were
fantasy.
selling that 10 years ago.
Right.
Yeah, I was going to
And
say,
10
we've been
years
waiting
ago,
on that for 9-10 years.
Do I
Right.
think that there's a percentage of dealers are going to do? There's Max. You started this conversation with there are some of these dealerships out there that are letting salespeople do the cradle to grave, right? They're the ones that are going to sell a few less cars and make a little less money. There are going to be a percentage of people that will do a fully automated F&I experience. That's going to be a small percentage. The people who try to go all in that space will sell
People
less
don't buy
cars.
from the
and
they
make
watch
less
a video. Nobody does.
So the
Right.
dealers who want to sell more cars and make more money will do the things that will sell them more cars and make them more money. And it is the psychology stuff that Bobbie was talking about. It is the working the banks and making sure our people are trained, as Jim was talking about. Those are the things, those fundamental things are still important. I can tell you what bank reps physically show up to my dealerships by looking at what contracts are cashed, right? I literally can take my entire group and go, this particular store sends 20% of their deals to this one bank. I wonder why that is. It's a relationship. That particular rep shows up to the dealership. They sit down and eat sushi together once a month, and they get way more deals because of it. I can tell you by which store. And it's
I did not expect sushi in Arizona.
Maybe you can eat it.
You know what? In Arizona, we kind of have the best of everything for food wise. I'm not going to lie. We have a
They're not
lot
that
of
far
really,
from
really good food.
But I'll tell you this, if you want to have a competitive advantage, right, you have
Hey,
to
let me
know-
tell you something. Trent Cannon.
Did Jim
It
freeze?
was Deb.
Yeah, he
All
froze.
right. Well, while Jim's frozen, I want to throw this out to Trent Cannon.
I'll tell you what,
Yeah, Jim, you froze. You got to repeat to us. You were frozen for a second.
well, I said that Trent Cannon is a granola eater. He is definitely a liberal. Matter of fact,
These are facts.
Trent,
These are
Trent,
facts.
if you're waiting for automated F&I, you can hold your breath and join the Blue Man Group. I'm gonna tell
Trent,
you.
I got your back here. I got your back. I'm going to piss my whole panel off, all my friends. Here we go. We have to be willing to delve into what somebody's talking about. The product that Trent is talking about is actually a platform designed to rehash and get deals bought based on the best lender and their rules, which is more qualified in many cases than a finance manager. We've already agreed on that. But as he's saying, F&I as an overall, and I won't speak for him, but in regard to the product he's talking about, which I haven't seen since it first came out, and I would like a new demo on it. But if in working in hand with a finance director or with a dealership, if you don't have a qualified finance manager that can do this, what's the harm in using a tool? I mean, we do it in every other department. We do it when we figure out the LTV of a car. We do it when we're selling product using a menu. We're using AI. We're using tools for all those things. It's a new AI tool. I have not used it. I'm not advocating the product. I'm just saying, I think it's kind of a cool thing. I'd like to see it.
And I do think as a percentage, just like everything else, everything we talk about, whether it's EVs or automated F&I or any of these things, it will account for a percentage of our future business. And I want it all. So yes, I'm going to have the tools and I'm going to do the things because I want every car deal. But I know for those people who need help, who generally have fallen on rough times and don't have an 800 beacon with, money to put down and are upside down and all the things, that it takes the experienced finance manager to work with the human on this side of the table and this side of the table to get those car deals done. And that will be the differentiator between the people who get all of it or the ones who sit back and go, just bring me the deals, just bring me the deals.
Imagine
Right.
like
You guys need to have a competitive advantage, right? So before I became a general manager, I was a director of F&I, right? And as a director of F&I, you really have to know the programs, right?
Yeah.
And that knowing the programs is the competitive advantage, because no
Right.
automated, no AI will ever come close to understanding the situation. And every situation is different, right? Every car deal is unique. And knowing the program and being confident about it, right? Where I would, as a GM, I would just put cars on the road, right? You can't get an approval? No problem. Here are the keys. Have a nice day. Print the contract this way. And then the next day, right, I would tell the finance manager, well, the car is on the road and the contract is printed. So it's now your job to get it approved the way I printed the contract.
Yeah, we
And
did
let
that
me
a
tell you
lot.
something. 10 out of 10 times they find a way, right? I don't remember bringing cars back, right? Because if you're confident in your knowledge when it comes to the programs, you can print the contract. Because guys, what happens when you submit a deal at 10:30 at night? You either get a decline or a counter offer, right?
Yeah.
And it's an automated algorithm. You don't know what the terms are. But if you know the program, you can bring the contract at 10:30 at night, put the car on the road. You know, and that's the competitive advantage that every dealer wants. If I'm going to rely on AI, you know, I'm not going to get anywhere.
Yeah, but we got to be careful, because we do this a lot when we talk about this stuff, is we bundle it in. Like, I don't know that program does what it says it's going to do, but I'll tell you what, how cool is that you can go in and put the customer information in. It already has all of the bank rates, the programs, if they'll take Experian, if they'll take Equifax, and it actually comes back, allegedly, I haven't used it, and says to you, these are like the top 3 banks, and these are the rates. This is where you would like get it done before you do a submission. That's not automating F&I. That's giving F&I a tool at their disposal to be an advanced user.
That is machine learning, but you know what? It
Who
can't
feeds the
work
machine?
to deal with a finesse. It can't do. It can't.
That's a great question, Jeff.
It could never do what I can do with a deal.
But it's not supposed to. It's supposed to give you a starting point, because you don't exist everywhere. So it gives you, like, for a manager who doesn't have, I love AI.
You can hire shitty managers.
Bobbie, I love it. I love
I
it.
love it.
What's the difference between, saying we went from index cards to CRMs, right? It's a tool to make our job more efficient and give us a better opportunity to get more done in less time, et cetera, et cetera. There's some other aspects that means we probably got more lazy, right? Like, so there's the good and the bad that kind of goes with technology.
Don't humor Trent. Don't
So
humor
wait,
him.
I want to talk about what Trent is saying now in response to me asking who feeds
Oh,
the
now
machine.
you're humoring him again.
Well, no, I'm challenging him because he's comparing this to AutoFi and then Trenton.
I like that my question works.
I know.
Right. Yeah.
Guys, have you ever seen the movie The Clerks?
Yes, one of my favorites.
This is back in like
Okay.
1991.
So there's a scene in the movie, right? And this is in 1994, right? When the guy is telling everybody not to buy cigarettes in the bodega, right? He says they kill you, they cause cancer. And then it turns out that this guy is the salesperson for a chewing gum company, right? So all he's trying to do is switch cigarette smokers to gum chewers, right? So when I see these comments from Trent, I swear to you, I feel like he is that gum salesperson trying
He has no concept what he's talking about.
But here's the thing:
don't
he's
even
saying
know
the
that.
banks feed the machine. They don't. Any of these programs that got set up in order for it to be accurate and efficient.
You see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying, guys? I'm right. I'm telling you, I am right. This is the Clerks in real life.
I mean,
I just want to make sure that the viewers who are watching understand. You don't sign up for these programs and they automatically work. That is not how it works. We waste a lot of money in our industry because we just buy the first thing that somebody is selling and we don't take the time to actually configure it or feed the machine. You cannot even have desking that's connected to your DMS and your CRM automatically work without someone knowledgeable configuring it to begin with. So I don't really care what Trent is saying. I want our audience to understand these tools if you are going to explore them, need to be configured properly in order to support your store.
That is a fact. I support that.
Brent does not know that he is in a world of pain because Jennifer and Bobbie and April will hunt him down.
I mean, I
triple
won't hunt him
dog dare
down.
you.
I don't really care. I mean, he can push those products all that he wants, so long as everyone is aware they don't automatically work.
Yeah, I like that we're using it automatically. And I triple dog dare you, Max, to do a demo on that product and tell us what you really think of it when you're done.
I mean, listen, I don't need to do. Listen, I'm intimately
Max sold
familiar.
his store. He doesn't care.
I'm intimately familiar with Ortify. Guys,
That's
there's no
not the same
magic
thing.
there.
No,
right?
Trent is comparing it in the sidelines, by the way.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Ortify doesn't get your deals approved, right? They know what the parameters are, right?
You know what? Good for him for being able to come on and like do. It's not easy to come on with all of us and be able to have a challenge like that. So that is confidence, and it's the exact same thing that we were talking about. I am not defending the product. I don't even know it. I have not used it. I'm not familiar with it. I looked it up. I seen it initially in the very beginning, but I haven't seen a full demo on it. I'm just saying, if you truly want to take the experience from 40 years till now, and you want to be able to use the things that haven't changed, the psychology, the control, the conversation, the relationship building, you have to start to incorporate.
It's a great program if you have a crappy manager.
It's a great program if you what if you're delivering 130 cars a month, you're the only finance manager, and you don't want your sales manager submitting your stuff. What if it really does work like that? It does
Hire
not
somebody else.
It does not replace finance. I think we're getting lost on that. It is to submit, to help you submit. It doesn't even, I didn't see that it even submits for you. Maybe it can. It comes back and tells you it's a bank book, AI bank book that nobody wants to print out anymore that tells you where to send it.
I was going to say, that's all it sounds like to me, is a digital bank book.
I walk it. I think it's exactly what it is. I was in a dealership 3 weeks ago with, I'm not even kidding you, with a sales manager who was doing an Excel spreadsheet on LTV so that they could submit to the bank because they didn't have a tool to do it. It was taking hours a day. They were having to go back and go, I got an approval on 115 and this, what card fits?
Consumer credit counseling interview. The number one thing that gets deals approved that are hard to get approved. I mean, Trent's sitting over there making umpteen.
Trent's an instigator.
He has no concept of what he's talking about.
I like how relentless he is.
He's an instigator.
He's blowing thoughts out of both orifices. I'm telling you right now.
I'm not mad at him.
You know what? I appreciate it because Trent obviously appreciates.
He has no concept.
But I also think that it's always good when we look at it from all angles, right? And we, look at things from our own seat, and we have disagreements here, but having disagreements on the sidebar actually are helpful because it's important for us to understand why we are where we are, why we've changed the way we've done things, and what will actually change for the better, and what, quite frankly, may change for the worst if we're not careful. So
Trent's problem is he's clue impaired. Clue impaired.
Oh, Jim.
You need to get one of them handicap stickers hanging in your rearview mirror. Clue impaired.
Trent, thanks for playing along. It takes a strong human, a confident human to be able to interact with us. We know that, but good for you for being confident in it.
Oh, absolutely.
And being here and challenging it. I think it's important. I do think it's important.
All in all, the credit counseling, consumer counseling interview, because there's 4 C's of credit. There's four bases of credit that no machine will ever understand. We're going to talk about the number one reason deals are turned down is not bad credit. The number one reason deals are turned down is the capacity of the consumer to repay the loan. Mm-hmm. Whether they have too much debt and they make enough money to cover it. That's capacity.
Yeah.
Credit history is bad debts, write-offs, tax liens. Any government action stays in the bureau for 10 years. Anything else stays in for 7 years, good or bad. Any credit you have drops out of the credit bureau every 7 years, except court actions like bankruptcies, tax liens. Those stay in for 10 years. So legal actions stay in for 10 years. So that's credit history. And then the third one is collateral. And that's cash versus equity. Cash is the number one reason deals are approved, real cash. And the fourth C of credit is character. Character overcomes bad credit, but it does not overcome capacity. And no machine's going to understand that. Character overcomes bad credit. Collateral overcomes capacity. So when you're presenting an argument to the bank, if it's a capacity issue, they don't make enough money or their debt's too high, then you have to come back with a collateral argument. You know, that's real cash versus real equity in whatever they're trading in. And so the 4 C's of credit, you know, they've got bad credit. If it's a credit turn down because they have bad credit, I have to get documentation to prove character that they're a good person, had some bad breaks that are not likely to reoccur. This is a good person, had some bad breaks, not likely to reoccur. And that is the character argument. No friggin' machine's going to ever replace the knowledge I have or a good F&I manager has on how to work the 4 C's of credit, to pick up a credit supervisor and say, I know the machine turned it down, but this is why you should approve it.
Well, I think that last C is something, and you know, Bobbie can attest to this, operating in the state of Michigan when so many plants and franchises closed down during the last recession, where we were dealing with people who had previously had great credit history, and then the automotive industry crash happened to them. And here we are now, you know, not just tiptoeing, but sprinting into another economic catastrophe in our country. So regardless of whatever tools you use to make your teams more efficient, it is important right now that you start training your team on how to do what Jim just said.
Yeah.
You've got to start making an investment. If you decide to put a percentage of that investment to a tool, great. But if you don't actually invest it in training your human capital, you're still going to be leaving money on the table.
Yep.
April, jump in here.
Yeah, no, I think that, you know, how many of us on this call, I'm sure all of us, but how many of your people understand how to take, and I see this a lot with young people, so I'll pick on them first because they're the easiest target, right? They come in, they just got out of school, they make $2,000 a month, they still live with mom and dad, and they want to buy, you know, a car that puts them at a $700 car payment. And they're like, oh, no, but I can afford that. That's totally fine because I don't have any bills. And they don't understand that, you know, the bank, how the bank is going to look at things. How many people can actually sit down with that customer and instead of just saying, okay, well, we'll submit it and see what the bank says, actually say, okay, time out. Let me train you, the customer. So it's not even just training our people, it's training our people to train our customers so that I can educate the consumer on here's the payment that the bank, like payment to income and what that actually needs to look like and what your buying power is. So if I'm looking at a $20,000 vehicle, then I'm at a $400 car payment. And that's probably where you're going to max because of math and actually educate. We don't teach math in school that actually is applicable in real life. We just don't, right? We teach people how to do an isosceles triangle, but we don't teach them what, you know, payment to income and some of these things actually are real life stuff.
Those are home ec classes, April.
Correct.
That's what
You
they
know,
are.
April, if you look at the comment on the screen, that's Tom Gilbert. He took my F&I course back in the dark ages, and he reminded me of something. He says, and Jim's best line was, I won't charge you a penny more than you can afford. I have customers say, I can't afford that. And I say, sir, the people at Ford Credit have college educations in knowing what you can afford, and they won't let you pay 1 penny more than you can afford.
It's true, but now like we're in this society of give me, and I can afford whatever because, you know, there's no consequences. Mm-hmm. And if we don't educate people on math and consequences and how these things actually work, then we're not only not going to sell a car today, but we're certainly not going to build the relationship with our consumer to build these long, like, I want to sell you a car today, but I want to sell you a car in 2 years and 5 years and 7 years, all the way through your entire life. And part of that is being able to actually do the one thing that your competition doesn't, and that's care enough about your consumer to educate them on how these things actually work and how to do their credit better. How can you raise your score? How can I save you not just thousands of dollars on a car purchase, but hundreds of thousands of dollars on your mortgage, because I've now educated you on how to have better credit scores that save you money everywhere. This goes so much further than just selling a car if we allow it to, where you can truly build relationships long term.
So guys,
Right.
I'm blown away by all these AI comments on a sideline.
It's
Right.
ridiculous.
And Bobbie is my witness, right? Bobbie and I spoke 2 weeks ago, right? And I gave her the best example about AI, right?
You did.
So Amazon, right? I even sent the article to Bobbie, right? So
You
Amazon
did.
had this program where you go to the store, you put the items that you want to buy into your bag, and you walk out.
Yeah.
And it just charges your credit card on the way out. So there is no checkout. There's no.
Hey, Aldi's doing that. Aldi grocery stores is doing that.
And this was marketed as this Amazon AI, like 21st century type of deal.
Sounds
Yeah.
like RFID to me.
So it turns out that this is not RFID. This is not AI. They had 1,000 Indians watching the cameras in that store and just billing you. And they got caught and they killed the program.
I mean, I will say,
Explain that again, Max.
So they said it's AI, like Jen said, it's RFID, right?
Yeah.
There was none of that. There were 1,000 Indians, right? Because labor costs are really low in India, watching the cameras.
Okay, so these were Slurpee Indians, not casino Indians, right?
Okay,
Pineapple.
boys, come on. So what Max is saying is they outsourced the camera security footage review, and they just watched what you put and then charged you for it.
That's it. That's the AI.
Humans were still checking you out.
Right.
I mean, yeah. So you've got companies that do. I think an important thing for us to remember that fits all the things we're talking about is you've got like three main things here. You've got future skills and roles, you've got enhancing the customer experience, and you've got strategic integration, right? So future skills and roles, as this stuff reshapes the F&I landscape, the skills required are evolving. So future F&I people might need to pivot more towards things that require strategic thinking, such as rehashing deals and building relationships. But enhancing the customer experience, I think, is huge. I think leveraging technology in any department, including F&I, it doesn't just streamline things, it can significantly enhance the customer experience. It can lead to more approvals. It can also lead to better options for training when they don't have them and dealings. But most importantly, the integration of AI and digital tools, it offers a strategic advantage, but it does need to be executed with precision. Dealerships have to consider how these tools fit into what they're doing. But most importantly, it needs to complement the human expertise, not replace it.
Look at Wendy Pickram.
Yeah.
Yes,
That's
Wendy.
exactly
Yes.
it.
Well, and even I've seen, to Wendy's point, like I've been in stores during preliminary observation, not after training has started, in preliminary observation, where I'll see a manager 40% of the time, a finance manager get a finance TO and tell the salesperson to take a walk. Instead of having the salesperson sit there behind them or wherever and learn as they're going through that, they're like, oh, just let me do my thing and get out of the way. And I'm like, oh.
You know,
They should
Jennifer.
be allowed to be there, but there is this aspect where salespeople need to, you know what I mean? Like if they're getting kicked out, my concern is, have we not told the salesperson, like, your job is to
Right.
sit and observe?
But they should know the process, and the process should be there is going to be a finance TO, right? Your finance manager is going to come out just like there's going to be a manager TO. Your job is to introduce them and shut them.
And then
Yeah,
smile
okay.
and nod.
Okay,
Smile and nod.
Now, Jennifer, to answer your question, when I do F&I in a dealership, like I say, that up until the time I caught the cancer, I was still actively visiting dealerships every week. So Tallahassee Dodge was the last deal I worked in October of 2019. I would sit behind or sit in front of the F&I manager. I want the F&I manager that works there to sit slightly behind me because I don't know their paperwork. I don't know their computer. I don't know their lenders. I don't know their CRM. So I sit there and I sell the F&I to the customer. And then I say, this is Mrs. Jenkins. Miss Jenkins will finish the deal with you. Thank you very much. You'll sign up all your paperwork, and I leave. But I train the F&I managers sitting slightly behind because I don't want to see them and distract them.
Right.
But I'm training that way. And that's the way I trained at Bobbie will remember this, Preston Superstore. I trained at Preston Superstore. Wally would sit slightly behind me and I would do the actual sale of the F&I products. So I didn't know the computer and all the CRM. Every dealership's different. But, just I would do it. And Wally's going to do your paperwork, your legal paperwork. Thank you very much. And I'd leave. Is that what you're talking about, Jennifer?
For sure. I mean, we talk about a lack of training, but what we do every day, if we utilize it, is training for the ones that know the programs. They know the consumer credit interview. If we're just keeping that in a bubble, and for a long time in our industry, right, it wasn't safe to say, I want to know, or I don't know, or can you teach me? And I mean, I've last year I ran into a finance manager who was like, I'm not teaching anybody anything. I was like, well, that hurts everyone, especially the person who signs your paycheck. So we just have gotten away from so much of the basics. And again, we all know, like I write for, and I'm learning my 5th programming language. So I am not anti-technology. What I am is anti-thinking that a technological solution is going to solve all your problems and you don't actually have to invest in your people and your process.
You know what sold more F&I for me than anything? My personality. And that friggin' computer has no personality. Well, they can watch the video. Nobody watches the videos.
The 2 best F&I people I know are sitting right there at the top of the screen, and they both have great personalities.
Thank you.
I mean, what are you trying to say about the 2 people on the bottom?
Well, that's not what I'm saying, Max. I'm saying for the people who have, as a sole function of their job, sat in the box at one point in time.
I did for 8 years.
Well, you never talk about it, April.
I didn't know that.
I know.
Jack of all trades.
But listen, guys,
I've done it all at some point.
I'll tell you this.
I competed against Bobbie, so I know what hers was.
At the end of the day, right, everything trickles down, right? So it comes down to the dealer principle, right?
Always.
Am I going to agree with Max twice in one show?
I think
And
so.
if the dealer principle understands the money-making opportunity through reinsurance, that dealer principal will ensure that his finance department will get every deal approved to sell as many F&I products as humanly possible to feed his reinsurance company. And the reason they do that is very simple, because over the years, if you do this, let's say for 10 years, right, your reinsurance portfolio will always be worth more than your blue sky. And there's no debating that. There's no debate. It's just math, right? So you can sell your blue sky, right, and right into the sunset with your reinsurance company. That's the magnitude of income we're talking about. So we can talk about, the bank reps or the product providers training or the finance managers that use AI or don't use AI. At the end of the day, everything trickles down, and it's the dealer principle that has to instill a certain culture in the store and a certain level of training.
Well, anyway, we're wrapping up the show, and Bobbie wrote a book on the sidebar And,
I'm not messing around. I know we only have 1 minute left. Matt's going to say that he does reinsurance and is amazing because he never promotes himself. I'm going to start charging you a commission. I swear to God.
gonna have to start
okay,
interviewing
everybody,
guys.
wave goodbye to the audience.